If you're an insurance agent and you're ready to maximize your true potential in the insurance world, then let's go! Before we start, let's get one thing for certain. I wasn't always out here big money earning. A page in my life, I turned it and got into insurance. But hold up, let me back it up a bit. When I was growing up, I felt restricted. From 4 to 5 houses, we got evicted. Got into construction, I was so broke during those years. Get off work, start bitching, hit the couch, drinking beer. Thought my dad was proud of me, I was walking in his shoes. But I heard something inside of me that I now know is true. Just because you share the same blood and DNA, that doesn't mean you gotta do life the same way. Quit that job, the boat, I burned it. I went into insurance, 80K in 9 months, yeah, your boy is earning. And 300K in the next year. Man, I used to be broke and drink beer, but now we're here, let's go. Insurance sucks, I just make it suck less. If you're an agent and you're ready to maximize your true potential in the insurance world, go to bradhannon.com. I'm a health insurance hustler, Bradley Hannon's the name. I'm here to teach these agents how to play the game. I'm a health insurance hustler, one thing you should know about me. I'm a health insurance hustler, bradhannon.com.
Yeehaw! I don't know who that Brad Hannon guy is, but my name is Dick, and I'm Dick's Wood Service, and I got a special guest on the call today. I got the no-call broker, my good friend, Mike Moore. What's going on, Mike? How we doing?
Thank you, Dick. You're making me feel at home from Texas.
Yes,
you're doing
sir.
fantastic. Yourself?
I love it. I love it. It would be weird if it wasn't the weekend before Halloween, and so obviously we had a little costume party in the office. Gotta play the part. But we'll get down to business, man. We'll get down to business. I'm excited. First of all, extremely gracious that you would come on the call, man. We've got to know each other a little bit over the last few weeks, months, year, really. And and one thing I could say, man, is you want to share value. You want to help the struggling agents. And I think we relate on that level a lot. And so I won't share too much just yet. I will let you introduce yourself for those in the audience that maybe don't know you. And Joe Camper said, wow. I like the intro.
Joe's jealous because he wants to dress like that too.
Yeah, he does. For those that may not know the no-call broker, man, why don't you introduce yourself, tell the audience about yourself, and why I brought you on the call, man.
Well, my name is Mike Moore. I'm the no-call broker. I took the no-call approach because calling everybody nonstop, I tried that. It wasn't working for me. I needed a different approach, and yeah, man, that started really working for me well. So I ran with it. And the more I go down that angle, the more I go down the path of communicating with my clients digitally and mostly, re-engaging digitally, the better it gets. I mean, I get better at it personally, and the clients like it. And I'm making more money than I thought I would be making at this point. So it's going great.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. And when you say no-call broker, what kind of products you selling, man? Let's let the audience know.
Sure.
Medicare? Is this Medicare? Is this life insurance they can buy? What are they buying from you without having to make a call?
Yeah, I sell ACA, mostly ACA Health.
What?
And I do some cross. Yeah, can you crazy, right? There's no money in ACA.
No call? ACA's with no call?
That's
crazy.
Right. And I do call them, and I let them call me. So I definitely use the phone. I'm not the no phone broker. I'm the no call broker, right?
Yeah.
They call me a lot. I text them a lot. If they ask me to call them, if they set an appointment, or if they say, hey, can you call me, or whatever, I call them for sure. But I don't chase them down. I don't chase prospects with phone calls, and I don't re-engage prospects with phone calls. So the two things that most people really blast their clients with, I don't do. And I think that I've shown that, at least for me, it works better to use digital processes, in ways that are less abrasive to the client, and it gets the sales off on a better foot. And yeah, man, a lot of people are looking, and this isn't my approach isn't for every client. The people who want to be left alone find me.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. So it sounds, just to break that down, it sounds like you're doing things a little differently, right? And we talked about that before we went live. is kind of the difference in what you're doing and how you kind of landed upon that. And we'll get to that in a moment, but let's back up to how you started, right? Let's back up to the first years that you were an agent. Did you start an ACA? Did you, what tell us how you got started in the industry, and maybe, just maybe, you struggled a little bit. I don't know, but maybe you struggled in the beginning, like most do. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, man, I left the trading business, and I fought in that business for too long, really tried to extend a career that wasn't going where it needed to go. And that's not an industry that's very kind to people who, are not on top of things. So I had to, when I decided to leave and get into the insurance business, it was because I had to. It wasn't because I wanted to. I was completely broke, and I'd already gone through a career path, and I'd already, I'd already experienced failure. I had already experienced setback in life. And I had to decide, I had to decide what sort of story I was going to tell him. Am I going to be the person who woulda, coulda, shoulda been something, or am I going to suck it up and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go make it happen regardless. And so, yeah, at 38 years old, was I 30? Hold on, let me think. Yeah, 38 years old. I can't remember now. I went to work for Health Markets, and they, I think I saw an ad.
How many years ago were you 38, man? You look like you're younger than 38 right now. What's keeping you so young?
Oh man, I sleep 14 hours a day. What do you do?
That's awesome. So how long ago was Health Markets? So how long did you start?
That was 4 years ago when I started.
Okay. So you've been in the industry for 4 years. Tell us about that start.
It was tough. I definitely had to suck it up. You do a lot of things that you don't want to do, especially in the beginning, and you have to. Everyone has to. And so I realized very quickly, everyone was getting on the phones, doing all these calls. I remember the first call I made, and again, I was broke. I begged, and this is kind of how they did it there. Begging's the wrong word, but I definitely went and kindly asked the other brokers on my team if they could give me their dead leads. Just, once, just give them to me.
That's nice.
Yeah. And they do it. So they basically say, okay, everything from like 3-4 months ago, just, hey, give Mike 20 of them from each person sort of thing. And I had a list, and it was something like 179 leads. And I called the same list. And I needed money. I needed to work, and I didn't have any other way to do it. So I just got on the phone and I called that list. And at least 3 times a day. It must have been more, but it was at least 3 times a day. I remember the same voicemails over and over and over again. A couple of those people are still my clients, and it's funny because I'll still remember those. I'll call them. If they need me to call them for OEP, I'll get that same voicemail. Like, God, man, I've heard this same voicemail, 25 times. But yeah, it was a real struggle, and what I was able to control, was what I focused on. So I focused on my effort. I wasn't just like everyone else. I was not good at sales at first. You're not good at anything at first, but I could control my effort. And so I worked as hard as I possibly could. I started calling and doing things as soon as 9 a.m. in Texas is the rule. Started calling at 9 a.m. and I basically didn't stop. I was on the phones trying to get a hold of somebody and I did cut it off a little bit earlier. I think they let you call until 8 p.m. But I was stopping sometime around 7:30 at night, and I did it every day until I, got a little bit of money to buy leads and do things a little bit more of a professional way. It was hard, man. It's hard for everybody. Everyone gets it. I think that's why insurance agents have this affinity for each other, because we all get what you're going through. You know what I mean?
At least the good one. At least the good ones do. At least the good ones. All right.
Well,
so
yeah.
So go ahead. I won't cut you off. I know where we're going.
No, it's just that everyone goes through it, and you got to pay your dues. And it is sort of like, we respect the people who get through that, because not most people don't get through that. Right.
Yep. 100%.
Right.
But what I love about that is that you did, because what we're going to get into, right? It could easily be misconstrued as, the way you started, right, was different.
Right.
Or, what you had, the resources or the time or the whatever. Mm-hmm. There was a difference. And what I want the audience to be able to see, what I want everybody that catches this on the replay or live to see, is that, he called the same 179 leads over and over and over again till he got a little bit of money, till he could kind of level up his marketing, if you will, and level it up to the point where it is today, which is branded, and he's the no-call broker, right? And he's getting applications without ever having to really pick up the phone a whole lot and definitely not hammering the same 100 leads over and over and over and over and over again. And so let's talk through that evolution. Let's go from, okay, your first month as an agent, broker, whatever, you're hammering the same 200 leads. Okay. You made a little bit of money. Then what did you do with it? How did like a lot of agents struggle with that portion of, they go and they buy some leads and they're like, oh, I didn't close any. And it's like, oh, I can't do that again. And so it's like this vicious cycle that we can't get out of.
Well, first thing I did, I realized real quick that you want to spend every dollar back into the business, especially at first, man. You can't afford to be spending, your money on luxuries unless you have extra money. And I didn't. So I moved into a 400 square foot studio, 38 years old, man, starting over completely, moved into a 400 square foot studio. I was paying
400 square feet. That's like as big as my office I'm in right now.
That's right. It was the least expensive place I could find in an acceptable neighborhood. And I was, okay. I was paying. Well, I also moved from Chicago. I came to Texas. I would get away from everybody and everything, all distractions, put it all out. Because again, it's like, am I going to be the guy trying to be cool at brunch who's broke? Like, how is that? That's not a fun angle, right? And so I knew I was trying to, do something different, and I had to put the work in first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think my total expenses were less than $1,500 a month at that time. So I had $1,500 a month I was spending on myself. And I was doing this straight, like watching every dollar, eating ramen noodles, but I took every extra dollar, put it back into marketing, right? Every single extra dollar. And so it, and then it took a while too. There was a couple times, at least, I'm sure there's some people on the call, watching this right now who can relate, but I didn't have money for leads at point. I had built up a little bit of residual income in the ACA, and there were times where that's all I had, and I had to wait to figure out how I was going to get more money or go do door knocking. I went and walked and talked and try to get leads on the street, and that works in the ACA. But I'm not. But yeah, man, it was a real struggle putting things back together. This isn't some sort of thing where this just worked for me overnight. It's not some sort of thing where I'm a genius or anything like that. Like I'm, everyone on the call.
I don't know though. Have you ever taken a test to determine if you are a genius or not though? Because I think there is, I could push back on that a little bit and say that your IQ is probably at least above average, if nothing else.
Yeah, sure.
yeah, sure.
Well, but
it would transfer to anybody else, correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's really, my difference wasn't intelligence. My difference was tenacity, and a grueling determination to be different. So I do have that. And that's a double-edged sword, like anything in life. I think I heard something like 1 out of 8 people is a critical, and I use that word. I don't use that word in like a positive way. It's just if everyone's going this way, I have to look that way. And that's just the way I am. And usually it's a bad decision. It is. Usually the crowd is right. That's why people follow the crowd. And so I've been burned a lot. I've had to learn how to test my opinions and my theories carefully so I don't sink myself. And then you run with if you look at my business model, even though I highlight the things I do different, at least 80% of what I do is just like everybody else, Right.
Well, let's not talk about the things you do like everybody else.
That's right.
Let's talk about the things. Let's stay on track with the things that you do differently. And we were talking offline about a couple of those things. Aside from the no call and that type of stuff, what are some of the things? What are some of the ideas? Some of the things that you've done differently. How do you set yourself apart as you've grown in this and really created a great income and got back on your feet and. I don't know if you're still living in the 400 square foot apartment, but I wouldn't put it past you because you still are very adamant. It wouldn't be, I can tell you if this guy's living in a 400 square foot apartment or studio still, it is not because he can't afford more. It's because he's smart and he's still investing everything back into his business. But, he just snatches up a cat out of nowhere. I love it.
Pull a cat out of the hat, right? Sorry. What was the question again?
The question is basically what are some of those things that you're doing differently?
Yeah. Okay. So when I run digital marketing, I don't. I certainly try to do things different, and you can do that in a number of ways. You do have to appear different. You have 1 second to grab somebody's attention. So if your copy is the same, and there's some good copy out there that everyone has, latched onto, and like one of those, you've probably all seen this ad, but they'll say, not many people know about this opportunity, and that's actually pretty good copy, but everyone uses that type. There's a couple ads like that everyone uses.
Right.
So I definitely try to take everything in digital marketing is an auction. So it's a market. As more advertisers come in, they bid up prices for something. So if there's something that's left uncovered, that's what I try to find. And at the very least, even if I can get my ad cost down 30%, 50%, the formula of the ROAS going from, my ad spend to how much I'm making really multiplies quickly. And it has helped me take limited funds. And within a couple of years, and I say a couple of years after I figured out my system, it took me multiple years to really figure out my system right. But since I figured out my system, it's only been about 2 years, and I went from struggling to having, now I'm, figuring out how to really grow, because I have about 30,000 a month coming in, and that's, look, a lot of people are doing more than me. I'm not even close to the biggest. There's 25 people watching this right now who are making more money than me. I found my own path. It's taken me a little bit longer. I love where I'm going. I'm passionate about it. I'm happy every morning when I wake up and work. And so, being different has made all the difference for me. It's made the opportunity available to me. And it's, the digital marketing specifically.
You can play with your cat. It's okay. It's all good. If you want to have your cat on your lap, you're good.
Yeah, I was just telling you, we drove up here, so I took my pets with me. That's my cat, my dog. We're staying up here in Chicago. So she's a little nervous to run around the townhome.
Oh man.
But yeah, so with the digital marketing, I definitely look for things that other people aren't doing. There are opportunities in every market. In the ACA specifically, there's always special enrollment periods. There's always different states you can go after, different opportunities. And I try to figure out how I can do things a little bit different, because it costs less to get to the same place and do the same thing if you can find that angle. So the unemployment opportunity that came out, that was extremely unique this year. It's never happened before, where they were handing out insurance to people who had been unemployed. And so I went to a Google keyword, and yes, you try to use real figures to figure, real statistics to figure out what is undervalued and overvalued in the moment.
Statistics that you didn't pay to figure out either, right? That you didn't necessarily put your own ad dollars behind to figure, okay, this didn't work, this did work, right? That's going to happen some, but you went to Google's analytics.
That's right. You test your theories, of course. I test every theory at least a little bit, and I'll kick them out quick. If it's not working, I'll kick the theory out quick. But the unemployment I went to Google Analytics and looked up keywords, and I was looking at the cost of keywords. And Obamacare is a $23 keyword. Health insurance is like $27 keyword, right? You're paying a lot just for a click for some of these things, but unemployment benefits was an 80 cent to $1.50 keyword, right? And so okay, if nobody wants to market to these people and I can enroll them right now, I should be doing this right now. And I did, and it worked out really well. And so, right now, there's always opportunities like that. In every market, there's opportunities like that. That's, you find a niche, you find a little angle, and because everyone else is focusing on, maybe even a bigger, more scalable opportunity that, if some giant company went after, well, guess what? I'm one guy. I don't need 10,000 leads. I can work great with 50 leads a day. So you don't have to think. Look, we as individual agents and even as agencies are never going to win the game of just overpowering clients to enroll. We're not going to, because there are companies out there that will beat you at that game. We have to, UFC is my favorite sport. And I love how they win their sport by leverage and pressure, right? It's not about just overpowering somebody. It's usually about leverage and pressure at the right moment, the right time. And I feel like growing a business is like that as well. We started as one person with limited funds. You're not going to beat, integrity marketing. You're not going to beat some of these big companies. right? So how do you find leverage and pressure that you can apply to the market to have outsized results from smaller resources? Right.
Man, so good. So good. Yeah. If you guys aren't loving this, I'm loving this. So that's all that matters. It's so good. It's so refreshing to hear from somebody that's doing it different. And that is good stuff. I've never thought about business in that sense, but that is true. The leverage and pressure at the right moment, at the right time. And your unemployment example is a perfect example of it, right? You were competing with some giants, and because you found a niche, it worked for you, right? So I want to get into kind of what you're doing today, and I know you wanted to talk some strategy on targeting for ACA, so we definitely want to get to that. But before we do, I just, for me personally, where was that middle ground for you? Okay, between calling through 179 freaking contacts over and over and over again, and running digital ads with that had all the automations and were branded as the no-call broker. What was the interim like? Were you buying internet leads? Were you just running simple Facebook lead gen ads? Were you what was the middle like? Right, we kind of talked about the beginning. We're going to get to the end. What was the middle like?
Yeah, the actual path to get there. I decided that early in my career that I wanted to grow a telemarketing system. I wanted to grow a call center. That's what I thought was going to be the way, the path to the promised land. And I started hiring VAs. I started doing buying all the data and looking at all the different states and the counties and coming up with these targeting strategies. And it worked okay. It was an enormous amount of effort and headaches. And there was one day when everything just fell apart. And I remember thinking, well, at the same time, I was always building, was always been interested in the digital side. And I was always building towards that. But I saw everyone else making money with, telemarketers and VAs, or at least that's what I thought. I don't know. I don't see their bank accounts, right? But a lot of people use that method, and it does work on some level. Everything works a little bit, right?
Works a lot, yeah.
That's right. Like nothing's going to just fall in your lap and make you rich. You have to actually take the time to become great at one method. So maybe that wasn't my path, but it wasn't working that great for me. And in my testing method, there are times when things aren't working for me where I've always loved Seinfeld. I've always like George Costanza is the best. And it's absolutely correct. When things aren't going right, sometimes, and at least just for the information you get out of it, it's best just to do the opposite. Do the opposite of what everyone else is doing or what you think is correct, because at the very least, you're going to get a lot of information back from that test. But this particular test, I was doing a lot of things that people are doing today very normally. I was building I was using Zapier, and I called it my Trident. I still have it back there. It's called my Trident strategy. I thought that was cool at the time. It's pretty. Yeah, I know. It's pretty lame. But I would send them a ringless voicemail drop, send them a text, and I would send them an email. And that's it. So I'd send them all three right at once as soon as I got them in. And at the same time, I was totally selling out the other brokers. I was like, I know you hate telemarketers. I hate them too. So if you want to talk to somebody who's not going to call you, click right here. I have all the best options, then, and dude, people loved it. They're like, oh my gosh, you're not going to call me. It's, I can control this conversation. And I started getting people texting me back and emailing me back and calling me. And so I was, buying some internet leads to do that process at first.
Right.
And then I decided I was going to build the entire system out and make it much smarter and better. So I started then really focusing on developing my own leads to replace those digital leads I was buying, and, building out the better process. And that's what I focused on ever since. And it's gotten better.
That's how we got here today.
That's right. That was the turning point, and it did work. Look, man, go ahead.
Let me just say real quick, because I'm always trying to give the audience the nugget, right, that somebody may have missed, or maybe you caught it, but the thing that you can, the takeaway, right? The takeaway from that is that he was still buying some internet leads, still buying data. Essentially, he just chose to work them a little differently, right? But nobody had to tell Mike to do that. Nobody, I mean, he probably learned through a little bit of trial and error. And so the takeaway there is to be different, right? To set yourself apart. If you do want to call them, I'm not going to sell out on the phone, man. Phone sales has been my life. I know that things change and evolve, and I'm not resistant to change. I'll change with it, but the phone still works. And if you're calling, you got to just sound different, right? And maybe to get people on the phone, you maybe have to kind of be the no call. Hey, listen, I got your information. I'm not going to call you first, right? That's one of my rules. I'm gonna not reach out to you first. You can reach out to me, or you can click this link, whatever, right? You can duplicate that process. But the cool thing is Mike, the no call broker, didn't stop there, right? And obviously you're getting that from his personality. You see that once he finds something, he's gonna just keep hammering away at it until it becomes something, or it doesn't become something, so he can go the opposite direction, right? But that's how he's accomplishing things quickly, is because he's running into a wall, running the other way, running into a wall, running the other way. Oh, wait, there's no wall this way. I'm going to keep running, and I'm going to keep running. And then next thing you know, it's like freaking Forrest Gump, and he's just running and running and running, right? So
that's right.
I love
every failure is information back that you shouldn't be going that way, or maybe you should be going that way and you didn't try hard enough. That's for you to decide. But yeah, absolutely. Like a rat in a maze finding the cheese. I ran into a wall and just keep going.
It's freaking gold, man. It's gold. Eric Hollister, the one that just commented there, he's going to be able to take so many nuggets from this. So appreciate it. But thanks. I know you wanted to share some of the strategy on this year and how to use some of the data. Guys, we're gonna throw it in the comments, right? He'll post the link to what he's talking about. We're also going to follow up on this and do some other things. He does have a heart to help the agent, the solopreneur agent, right? That's trying to make this work. And we have some ideas we're working together on that I think will be a game changer, right? And maybe not a game changer, right? Let's not exaggerate. And maybe it's not a game changer for you, but maybe it helps get you that one missing link that you need, right? And maybe then, as you realize from what Mike is doing, maybe that one little differentiation now starts to play into more and more and more success, and so on and so forth, right? Success begets more success. So fast forward to today, right? Obviously, you don't have to share every single, detail of the strategy you're using today, and everybody goes and tries to duplicate it and all that. But, from a higher level and from, what your perspective, what can agents do today, and give us some of that info that you wanted to share about, the targeting as it sits today.
Well, when I first went into health markets, everyone was saying the same thing. There's no money in ACA. In some counties, that's true. So targeting in the ACA is, look, I don't want to exaggerate either and say it's more important than other products, but it's imperative to ACA to target appropriately. So a couple tips on how to target appropriately. You have to decide, what your strategy is, and if your strategy is like mine, and you want to enroll a lot of sort of the lower income people, then you really should be targeting in states that have not expanded Medicaid, because you'll be able to sell ACA to people who are between 100 and 150% FPL, right? And there's only 13 states left. You can go get a list of those. Go to the.
You just Google non-Medicaid expansion states. That's pretty easy.
That's right. So you find those states, and if you want to target these people, then the 100 to 150% FPL people that get they get the automatic $0 silver plan, right? And they also have a special enrollment period next year for the entire year. So not everybody knows that. It's not exactly a secret, but not everyone knows that. So if somebody makes between 100 and 150% FPL for their family, they get a special enrollment for the entire year, and they qualify for an automatic $0 policy. So when somebody like that walks through the door, it's a slam dunk sale. You should have them enrolled in 10 minutes. And so to target them, the first tip is look at the states that have not expanded Medicaid. And again, that's dependent on your strategy. Maybe you're trying to target people who are of a higher income. There's all sorts of reasons to do that, right? So like you had that guy on. I've watched every single one of your Power Lunches, by the way.
Cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and the gentleman, the California Killer, he targets 5 people. right?
Yeah.
He doesn't target the 100 to 150. So that works for him to go to California because he has a different strategy. So, whatever.
Yeah.
But then, of course, this sounds really simple, but people don't think to take this step. Make sure you're selling in counties where the carriers pay. There are counties where carriers either don't pay as much or some don't pay at all. And that's going away now. Most of these ACA they're expanding commissions these days, not contracting them. So the commissions are pretty juicy all around, at least all around where I sell right now. But make sure that where you're selling is where you want to sell. And then, of course, the different carriers have opportunities where they offer bonuses, or maybe they'll give you better contracts. And just in general in this industry, to sell more of one carrier, it gives you more leverage with, we talked about leverage. It gives you more leverage with that carrier, more leverage with your upline, gives you opportunities to maybe have a contract and grow a downline. So maybe you find, like a lot of people are doing Ambetter because it's the lowest cost silver policy across more counties than any other carrier right now. Right now, if you want to sell in the cities, maybe something like Bright Health or a company like that came in pretty strong into the urban areas recently, right? So you decide what your angle is, and then really go after it. Like if your goal is to do 200 policies, maybe try to do all 200 with Bright Health. You get better at the policy, you get better at the contract, you get better at the targeting, and then you get leverage with your upline and your carrier, and you can make sure you get paid. You can track one commission instead of 1,000. There's a number of reasons to focus like that, but if you target properly in the ACA, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're recommending that agents don't target counties that they can't make money in?
I know, it sounds simple, right? And it is. Yeah. But absolutely, make sure that you are only spending your money and your effort where you can make the most return.
All right. If somebody wants to, like, Monday is November 1st, right? If somebody's like, you just blew somebody's mind, they're going to go to work like all weekend. They're like, oh man, I'm never going to sleep this weekend. I got to figure out my targeting. I'm going to be looking at all kinds of stuff, right? What is the stuff that you look at to figure this stuff out?
Well, okay, so we talked about focusing on a carrier, and you want to be able to sell that carrier as the lowest price or second lowest price silver policy. Or if you're going for higher income people, you want to make sure that they are a competitive bronze policy, or at the lower end of the bronze policies. So your carriers that you're targeting should have one of those attributes in the counties that you're looking at. And so that's the list I created, the list I try to help people with. And I use that myself let me just go through what I do.
And by the way, that list is what we're going to put in the comments, right?
That's right. I'll also give you a link. I'll talk about that in a second. So what I do when I'm building my list of where I'm going to target, I know which carriers I want to sell. I know how much I'm being paid for those carriers. I take my let me know if I'm getting too much into the weeds, but
You're good.
Yeah, I take my client list and I create a value on each one. So you do a little value calculation per client and you upload that to Facebook. And Facebook is extremely smart. The AI doesn't think, it computes. It's like just super, super high level statistical analysis is really all it is. But you have to feed it the right data. You as the human have to guide the AI, or the AI doesn't work. Okay. Right. It doesn't.
Right.
So
you got to aim it.
You do. It's a tool. It's a very powerful tool, but you have to learn how to use that tool correctly. And so one of the things I put the value calculation in my list. I upload that as a custom audience. Okay. And I use that custom audience. I'll create a lookalike from that custom audience to target them. And then I'll also update that list so that the AI gets smarter. And if you guys want to go a little bit higher level with it, there's something called CAPI, the conversion API. And it's maybe I'll show people how to use that at some point. You should
definitely will.
Yeah, that's right. You should not be intimidated by this stuff. There are answers to everything. And look, every problem, the things that are holding all the other agents back, are an opportunity to you to get to that top of that mountain and claim that pot of gold for yourself. Because look, one of the reasons why I'm not afraid to share my strategies is because most people won't use them anyways. I'm just being serious. Most people listen to this like, like, okay, that sounds awesome. And then they'll just go back to doing what they're doing. And then, out of the ones who do try to use, the methods that I have, at least some of them will come back and help me somehow. Be like, hey, Mike, I love what you're doing. Let me help you get there with what I know. And it always comes back to you in multiples, in my opinion. Absolutely. If you just go out there and you're the best at that, right? you and Joe and some of you guys who are always out there sharing, you're showing the proof of that.
I'm still waiting for the multiples. It's definitely come back to me. I'm still waiting for the multiples, like multiple commas, I think. So Joe said amen. But yeah, no, I love it, man. I personally, I love it because it just gets me connected with guys like you that kind of challenge the thought process, right? Get you thinking differently. Maybe get you thinking bigger, right? So that's awesome stuff, man. And it's definitely
you reached out to me, right? So most people ignore what I say, like, hey, that sounds nice, good for him. Most people ignore it. People like you reach out and think about all the things I've learned from you. You showed me the HMA opportunity, right? You showed me the pet matching account opportunity, stuff like that. You've helped me a lot, right? You've helped me quite a bit. And people like you, when you reach out, like this is why it's worth it, right? I put things out there, and the people who are it's just like my marketing strategy. I put myself out there. People who are interested in what I'm doing and who can help bring value to me tend to reach out. I don't drop comments in people's. Maybe I should. I'm not going to give
no call, no DM broker.
Yeah, I don't do that, but people do DM me, and I try to be nice and respond and talk to people as much as I can. But even if it's somebody who's asking me questions, if they're asking the right questions and having the right conversation, that helps me too. When you're going through and I have to explain my steps to somebody, it makes me better at my own process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was something that you said we were getting back to, right? And I was trying to rack my brain. It was like, I'll talk about that in a minute. And I think it was like part 2 of whatever. Help me out here, because I'm like, my brain was going off over that direction.
The part 2 of the targeting.
Yeah. There was something you were like, oh, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh yeah, okay. So after I will break down, make sure that I'm targeting the carriers who I work with, who I want to focus on, and then I make sure that in my strategy, I make sure they are either the lowest or second lowest price silver policy. The way that I sell, if you looked at my book of business, it's at least 4 out of 5, maybe even 9 out of 10 clients are one of those two. It's a very, very high percentage are one of those 2 silver policies.
Right.
So I make sure that what I'm trying to sell is one of those 2 policies that I can sell very easily and very directly. Then here's the biggest, it's not the biggest problem. It's a real headache is targeting that. So I get a county list. Is the CMS puts its data out as counties, right? So I get a county list back when I run that through my database, do a little query, I get that county list, and then I break it down myself. So I then go and edit it down to the counties that I want with the carriers there beside it to tell me who I'm looking for in those counties. But then you have to translate that into a digital audience, and that's the part that becomes a real headache. So if you know Facebook well, you have to put each county into Facebook individually, and it'll populate. And man, I have absolutely spent probably 100 hours of my time at this point just typing counties into Facebook. Like way more time than I should. So yeah, here's a great tip. Go to Fiverr or go to one of these Facebook groups. You can find, that's right. You can pay people who are really great at technology. It's certainly, look, there's going to be a difference between a guy who's making $200,000 a year as like a great, huge programmer and the guy you get from, Pakistan or some virtual assistant who you're paying $500 a week to. There will be a difference, but I guarantee you those people are very smart and they're hungry. They want to work. Yeah. You give them an opportunity, point them at some of these things. They can write API calls for you. They can, set up your database for you. They can help you do these things that may sound like big problems for you. You might be able to get it done for $500 or $1,000, Yeah. And so I went to, I have a great virtual assistant who works for me. He's very, very smart. We've been working together for a little bit now, and he's really helped me take my game to another level. Ezekiel, what's up, my man? He's from Cameroon. How you doing?
That's awesome.
Yeah, the guy's great. We talk UFC because, what's his name? The heavyweight champion is from Cameroon. But
oh, nice.
Oh yeah, man. But so
and UFC is an international sport, so yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he said he's Francis Ngannou. He's like, oh man, that's my favorite. It's everyone's favorite here, Francis Ngannou, right? So he hooked me up with I use Amazon Web Services a lot, and so they have a lot of cool tools back there. Built a database there. We have a little function. I'll share the function, and if you upload your county list, it'll give you back a zip code list. And so what you do with the zip code list then is you take it, copy it, and there's a little spot in the ad set where it says bulk upload. And so now with I can do what used to take me multiple hours to type in and then get wrong, I can do without mistakes in about 20 seconds, right? So I'll share that link too. It's my little county to zip code conversion widget, and it works great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so that you can look for that in the comments as well, or reach out or whatever. So as we're wrapping up here, we did have one question earlier. I'll get to that one. But as we wrap up here, I want to open up. If anybody has any questions, you should have questions. I mean, I have questions, but wrapping that up, and then also kind of closing thoughts, whatever, advice going into open enrollment, that kind of stuff. But Jason said, if you're a no-call broker, how do you get people to raise their hand and talk to you? Oh, I guess we kind of covered that through the discussion, right? He's running ads and
I don't bother them.
That stuff.
I don't chase them with calls. I definitely call them back. In fact, I have 2 virtual assistants coming on tomorrow who I have to train on Saturday. So that's going to be interesting. A little late in the game, but whatever. And they're going to be answering all my incoming calls. And I have a little script that I'm going to give them, and they're going to be filling out forms they're not doing outgoing calls. They're doing incoming calls that they answer from clients who are calling me. So I absolutely talk on the phone. I talk on the phone too much. I should be focusing more on enrollment, but they're calling me and they're asking me to call them.
Hell yeah. Boom. How much is Mike making in residual income in the ACA space when there's no money in the ACA? I think he already covered that. So
I'm up to about 30,000 now. I'm not, hey man, I'm not shy. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm up to about 30,000 now. There's tons of people making more than me, but I've done pretty good, I should double or triple that next year, hopefully. So, maybe next year I'll be with the big boys. We'll see. And then of course, just raise your standards. You're never a big boy, right? You're just standards, right?
Ever. No, not until, you got to be making $1 million a week to really be a big boy, right?
Yeah. There are some monsters in this industry. You are not even right. There's people who are so far up there that, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. Well, listen, I am super gracious for your time on here.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. For those of you guys watching that are thinking, man, I got to get more of this. Like, how can I learn more about this? Because it's a super enticing thing, right? Mm-hmm. Mike and I are going to work together on some things for you. He is always willing to help out. You reach out to him, I guarantee he'd help you out. It may be a busy time of year for all of us. So, if the one thing that I do want to say too is if you're watching this and you're rethinking your entire strategy now because Monday is the 1st and you've got to, rebuild. Listen, this is the run what you brung time of year, right? And that's a racing term, right? You get to the drag strip, right? And you see the competition and you're like, oh shit, I only got this, little small block Chevrolet, right? I'm using the terms because I'm looking like a redneck today. So,
hey, it's good.
So you run what you brung, right? You don't change it. You never know that car next to you could break down and you could win that race still. But the point is that whatever tools, resources, wherever you're at right now, make the most of this opportunity, this open enrollment, and then pick your head up in a couple of months, refocus, relook at things. If this is your second open enrollment, just try to do better than last open enrollment. If this is your third, try to do better than the last 2 open enrollments. Try to do what you did in the last 2 in this one, using the strategy that you guys already have been executing on, right? If today is day 1, for you. It shouldn't be day one. If today's day one, it's a great place for you to learn, but you're not going to be using these strategies that Mike shared, right? He called the same 179 leads over and over and over and over and over again. So, that's my closing thoughts. Just don't let this kind of get you concerned with, well, I'm not doing that, or, comparison kills, man. It really does. Right. And one thing that Mike shared over and over again is whatever he's doing, he's trying to be different, and it's working. So with that said, man, thank you so much for coming on. It was a lot of fun. I know people got a bunch of value from it, and we look forward to doing it again soon, for sure.
Thanks, Brad. Chat with you later.
Thanks for everybody tuning in. And I dropped something over here. Hang on. Oh, I got it. My shorty shorts.
I'm going to remember that all day. That's all day long.